ברשותכם לדבר גם על אמזון ועוד יותר עם האורח שלי פה, Tiernan Ray. Tiernan, so nice to have you here. I'll tell the audiences, first of all, a little bit about the background here. אז Tiernan Ray, הרבה מכם יכולים אולי להכיר אותו בשם, אם לא בשם, מכירים את הסקירה שלו במהלך השנים. אחד העיתונאים בתחום הטכנולוגיה הוותיקים ביותר במדיה האמריקאית. הוא היה אחד האורחים עם העין הראשונים Barron's Magazine. בעצם הוא התחיל את הסיקור הטכנולוגי in the 90s or so. אגב, אני לא סתם שאלתי, הוא מבין עברית, הוא מדבר עברית קצת, מבין כמה עשרות שפות שהוא מדבר, אבל 1994, הוא היה הראשון ב-1994 להתחיל בעצם לתת סיקור טכנולוגי בחברת חדשות. עד אז זה היה עסקי, פיננסי, השקעות, אבל הנושא הטכנולוגי כמובן צבר תאוצה, והוא החליט בעצם להקים צוות כותבים ב-Barron's Magazine. So nice to have you here, Tiernan. Jump in Hebrew anytime you want. בבקשה, there you go.
Thank you for having me. איזה כיף.
זה כיף לנו ולצופים. So I could ask you a million questions, but let's look at today and 24 hours back.
Yeah.
Microsoft, Google, Amazon. Meta is, I guess, a separate beast.
Well, they all are spending. That's the thing unifying them. So Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon are the hyperscalers. They're the ones providing cloud services. But Meta is spending not as much as Microsoft, but way up there in terms of the tens of billions on cloud infrastructure for its own purposes.
And Meta is being penalized for
Yes, they are. Yeah, stock was down 10% at one point today.
And I think it closed at like over 11% down. But how longer can this go? Do they have the mandate from their investors to keep spending, or is that a statement, please stop, we're not comfortable?
Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO, founder CEO of Meta, I think has articulated in broad terms what AI means for the company. But I think the punishment you see in the stock today is extreme skepticism by investors that they will be able to monetize this investment. They're spending all this money, going to spend much more next year in 2026 than they are this year, which is already enormous.
Yeah.
And they have not really articulated in detail how they will make back that investment on advertising, on various incremental services, commerce services. They haven't outlined it yet, and that's why the stock's being punished.
And are they afraid that AI, with all its different products and potential products, will take over products like Instagram and others?
They're in a battle with TikTok for sure, right? With ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, now going to Oracle. They can't afford, I think, in Zuckerberg's view, not to stay ahead on the cutting edge of technology, but they have not made the case sufficiently to investors. If you remember, Nat, if we went back a couple of years, the big story why suddenly in kind of 2023-24, Meta was back in favor with investors was, oh, they're laying off staff and the cash flow is going to surge.
Yeah.
And so it became a cash cow. Now they're saying, oh no, we're still kind of laying off staff. We'll bring some more staff in. We're paying $1 million bonuses to AI scientists. And by the way, we're going to spend tens of billions on infrastructure. So the cash picture that was the draw for some value investors is evaporating.
And speaking of cash, I want to get your reaction on the Amazon earnings that just came out. So
long report.
Tell me your gut reaction and I know we're all anticipating the conference call, but what is your take on Amazon in context, I guess, of Microsoft and Alphabet and beyond?
So we will know more on the call about their spending intentions, but they continue to deliver growth in the cloud. In the AWS business, $33 billion for the quarter, came in slightly above expectations. That's perfectly fine, because this is a stock that has been up only 2% this year, Nati.
Yeah.
This is the worst performer of the mega cap tech. So there's a catch-up now. After hours, we see the stock up 10%, and it's because people are saying, okay, cloud is fine, cloud growth is there. Operating income, about the middle of what the range the company forecasted, so it's not a disaster, despite also having to spend. And the forecast for this quarter's operating income, 21 to 26 billion, it kind of meets the consensus in the middle of that range. So as long as growth is continuing in cloud, as long as operating income is not completely falling apart, people say, okay, you know, this stock's only been up 2% this year. Let's give them a chance.
Do you think the company will come under fire on the call about their layoffs, the historic record number of layoffs?
I mean, we've seen, as in the case that we just mentioned of Meta/Facebook, when you lay off people in order to spend on AI, it kind of has tended to be forgiven as long as you can show that it's going to pay off. Amazon has an easier case to make than Meta because AWS actually is going to serve up AI to all the enterprises that want to bring their work into the cloud. So they have a direct route to monetization. They're the oldest cloud operation, AWS, and they can show that over the years they've been able to monetize what they invest in.
A different Mag 7 is Apple, probably reporting earnings any moment now. What's your sentiment there? I know they've been under immense pressure for lagging in AI, lagging with Siri. iPhone 16 was not as good as they were hoping. Then we got those numbers on iPhone 17 a few weeks back. What's your
the feeling about iPhone 17 lead times? This is the metric, right? A lead time is from the time you order the iPhone 17 online to when it's delivered, can be measured in averages across all consumers, and analysts do this on Wall Street by checking with the channel. The lead times, as they stretch out, that's taken to mean good demand for a phone because it's taking longer for it to get to you. Now, of course, it depends on what supply is. It's both supply and demand, but the street doesn't look at supply. They only say, okay, lead time stretching out. Sounds like everyone wants this phone. Sounds good. So that's where we've been generally in the weeks leading up to now is stretched lead times or at least decently long lead times. People say, okay, so this phone's doing okay. So this cycle is okay for Apple. However, the innovation question we're supposedly heading to with iPhone 18 a year next September, we're supposedly heading to a foldable iPhone, which is an area where Apple's supposed to be catching up with Samsung, with Google, and there we enter a much sort of murkier sort of situation with, will they even be able to deliver a decent device that meets kind of the Apple standards? Will it be a $1,500 cell phone, in which case they will get, 1% of their user base?
Tell me, and on the AI side of things, have they given up on homegrown AI? Will they integrate something available off the shelf?
No, I don't think they've given up at all. They do a lot of leading research in the field. I think product implementation has been the sticking point for them. And it's very sensitive because they have a user base of hundreds of millions across many versions of the phone, and they have to deliver a certain consistency with each iOS upgrade. So it's a bad situation for them. I mean, it has been a bad situation now for a while in not getting the AI product implemented on the phone. I think there is fundamental in-house research that's very valuable, but I simply don't know when they're going to deliver on that product.
I hear. And I want to take you a few steps back and go really widely, because you've seen it all. We've been pre-.com, .com, bubble burst, cloud innovation, all the things in the middle. If it's if it's the infrastructure, the software as a service, blockchain, you name it. Here we are with AI. Where are we with the innovation cycle from your perspective, having seen it all?
The AI is the future of all software. I mean, it's all going to have these elements of AI. It's going to invade software, and so it is one of the most fundamental changes, certainly in our lifetime, bigger than the PC. It's on the scale of the internet arriving for consumers, so it's tremendous, and I think we're very early innings in terms of understanding how it will be implemented. But in the business situation where we are now with Meta, Amazon, billions in spending, OpenAI, over $1 trillion in commitments to buy chips from NVIDIA, from AMD, from Broadcom, companies investing back and forth, NVIDIA investing in OpenAI. This part of it feels like what we saw in 2000 with the dot-coms, with vendors giving money to customers to then buy product from them. This feels like a moment, a financial moment, that is really about finance, liquidity, debt,
So we'll see the other side of it. In the meantime, I do want to tell the viewers, טרנן יש לו, כדאי מאוד שתעקבו, הוא הקים בעצם, it's more than a platform, the technology letter, כן? It's more than a newsletter for sure, it's a whole community, כדאי מאוד שתעקבו אחרי זה, בעצם קהילה טכנולוגית בשם the technology letter, הוא עובד על זה מאוד קשה יום-יום, יש לו followership goes to like
hundreds of retail investors.
retail investors, יש לו מאות משקיעים בצד הקמעונאי, ואחד הנקודות שמאוד עניינו אותי, הוא קורא לזה Technology Letter 20, כן? ה-20 החברות שהוא בעצם שם שם, יש לו סקירה מאוד עמוקה לגבי כל אחד מהם, אפשר לראות אותם במסך, אבל talk to me a little bit about the TL20, what is the mix there, and where do they stand? Because I understand also that you have terrific momentum with the TL20. When was this out?
We started this July 15th of 2022, Nati. If you remember, I was very fortunate because I decided to start this right as the market really went down in 2022. We had a massive sell-off. Great companies like NVIDIA were down 60% at one time. So everyone was in a panic, and I said, oh, this is the time to start an index. So we started in July of 2022. Since then, it's up 314%. So a little over 3 years return. That's better than 107% for the NASDAQ. So it's almost triple the NASDAQ return in that time. That's been through 6 rebalancings. In other words, every 6 months, I take a look and I say, of these 20 stocks, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 need to get tossed, and we put in 4 or 5, 6 more to replace them. And that is, the whole process is researching what's actually working. And so right now what is working are hard tech companies. So Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, largest contract chip maker in the world. They make the chips for Qualcomm, for NVIDIA, for Intel even, for everyone. Dominant company. Broadcom, a dominant company in AI and networking, the arch rival now to NVIDIA, the only hope of a second source to NVIDIA. NVIDIA is in there. NVIDIA has been in there since the beginning. The return on NVIDIA since the start of the TL20 is about 1,000%.
Unbelievable. אז הנה, שמעתם, 314% מאז שהוא